Okay, so let's talk about writing principles, style, content, punctuation, spellings, and writing profile as part of your this week discussion. So we're gonna talk about these things this week. Um, so what is the role of PR writers and the responsibilities ethically is what we discussed last week. And this week is we're gonna focus on the writing principles. Um, when you are writing, because your role as a public relations writer is to represent the company and also reach out to the publics out there. So you will be responsible for it. But the kind of documents that you prepare, for example, as I said, you have to end up writing press releases and memos, and you'll be composing emails and and other messages for social media, for example, Twitter and Facebook and things like that. Your goal is trying to reach out is many audiences as possible out there, and also being more responsible and ethical in terms of composing the message and not jeopardizing your company that you represent, and also not interfering with the people's, the public's personal beliefs and perceptions. Because you see, when you upload something or when you write something that reach out to people across the world. If you publish something on the website, that will be accessed by many people across the world. So people out there who read the message you compose, might have come from different socio-cultural, economic backgrounds. So the message that you find is fit and fine for yourself might not be fit and fine, or might be insulting others, right? So you need to be thinking all of these things. So when you compose the masses, that is always under the context, and there's the audience. You must have audience in your mind for good communication. That is one of the key things that you need to have in your mind. No matter whether you are a public relation writer or any kind of writer or researcher, always you need to have a specific typical audience in your mind that you are writing or composing that message for. Because if your message is not communicative, it cannot get across, because it always have an objective. So as I said, remember we kind of discussed the structuralism theory previously. So that, the structuralism theory somewhat will also give you knowledge of how meaning is made and how to compose, how to organize ideas, how to select words and dictions, and how to compose that in a pretty good sentence structure to make it more effective and make it more communicative. Okay, this idea also can be, related to the idea of the structuralism theories we discussed so far, which is what we don't necessarily to do. But since we have already discussed the structuralism theory, I thought it would be useful to bring that into play. So keep these three things in mind: the message you compose, which is always has its context, and the audience that you have in your mind. So write so people will understand what you mean. Okay, so your writing is always for your audience out there as a public relations writer. So it is always result oriented. So message is always context based. Your recipients are publics, stakeholders, and others. You might have known who stakeholders could be in our previous week and in our last week, the week one, and also the medium, which medium that you will be applying to publish your message, whether that's a print medium or media or digital, electronic, or you are writing or composing messages for television or for radio. It depends. So depending upon the type of medium, the composition of your message could be different. Okay, so for example, if you are writing for broadcast media, you should stay out of the past tense. So this idea underlying this practice is that all broadcast news should sound as immediate as possible. So you need to have knowledge of these things. So if you don't, so make sure first that you understand what you write. If you don't understand what you write, so don't expect that others will understand either. So you need to know the audience, who your audience is gonna be, who you are writing for, their characteristics, their values, their belief system, their cultural background. When you have graphs of these ideas, then only you'll be able to compose a better message which can reach out to the public. So your message should be readable and listenable. So for example, look at the theory language that you have read so far. If you have not, now you can go back and read the theory language. and the abstractness, the difficulties of that language, plus the writing, peer writing language, or the book itself that you are reading, the public relations writing book. So look at the language difference in terms of its readability and listenability. So you need to know the audience, who the audience is, right? So based on the audience, you will tend to design your writing. So what makes writing easy to read? Okay, there are a few things that you might want to know, because since I have basically summarized, in these PowerPoint slides, I have summarized the chapters that you are assigned to read for this week. So you will have a kind of overview of those chapters. And also when you read all the chapters, then you'll have a thorough knowledge of it. So in terms of sentence length and word length, so that is what you need to keep in mind. So structuralism notion, we talk about how language makes meaning, can always inform you or maybe help you better understand how the sentence structure can be created and how it makes meaning, right? And then you use more periods and fewer words. For example, there is an example which you can read. As I'm explaining this to PowerPoint, I don't want to spend a lot of time just reading everything there. So the revision, look at that, how it could be revised. So think about that. Okay, you always write something and then you can let it stay for a day or two, and then you can go back to your earlier piece and then you revise it. That's how you find a lot of errors, and also you can re-edit and make your sentence structure just much more effective. So you might want to bring a variety in sentence, and you can think of creating human interest. You can avoid banal trite expressions and eliminating bias in word choice. You don't want to hurt people from different linguistic and cultural background or racial background. And also commentary especially is not welcome in new releases. If you are writing a new release, if you are writing a release, news release or press release, so you want to paraphrase the quote to weave into the story rather, and you might want to incorporate some partial quotes. And first, your subject. If you know your subject, then only you can explain the complex. If you don't know the subject that you are writing on, then you can never explain the complex. That's the goal of public relations writer. You always want to explain the complex, in a very easy way. Okay. And there are some of the writing checklists which you find in your textbook as well. So I'm not going to read these questions. So you might want to double check your writing, with these questions, whether your writing is really effective enough to reach out to the public or not. And there are grammar, spelling, and punctuation you need to be very much aware of. That versus which, what time we use that, what time we use which, so that is in the book. So read that thoroughly. Subject verb agreement, and there are some myths of the grammar. For example, they tend to say don't use the contraction, but they also now have started saying that write the way you talk, so contraction is okay to use. So know about those myths of grammar. Split infinitives. There is sentence ending preposition, and there are certain style book and in a style guide. You might also want to subscribe to them, and you also will have access to them online as well. So they also will give you some idea. There are some commonly confused words. I copied this from your textbook as well. And social media writing means writing for the website, writing for blogs, writing for email, and writing emails, composing emails, and writing for different social media. So depending upon the different type of the social media, your writing is different, the way you compose. For example, if you tweet a message, that could be different from what you write or post on Facebook, right? So depending upon the type of social media, you compose the message. Okay. And also, the main thing you need to know is that what content that your audience wants, what content you want to share, and what content you have. And after that, when you have the information of all of that, and then you start from the middle somewhere there. Okay. So so talking about the public relations writing, you also might want to think of different theories, usefulness we have discussed so far, right? So the usefulness of the discussion of the theory of structuralism, perhaps that would help you to have a strong grasp of how meaning is made, like how language does have an underlying system. That is what we discussed under structuralism theory so far. So when you have knowledge of this, perhaps you could also think of that as you compose the message as a public relations writer as well. So you tend to know about your readers and listeners, know about the effectiveness of the writing. That depends on the accessibility of the reader to the text. The more the readers have access to the text, the better your writing is considered to be. and know about how well the text itself and the reader can communicate. Communication is the main goal of a public relation writer. If you can communicate well, you can reach out to the publics and reach out as many audiences as possible, and that's how you represent the organization you are working for as a public relations writer more effectively. And after all, PR writing is result oriented. Okay, so you always want to bring result. And then also you might want to take a look at the profile writing, how to write a profile on someone, because this is something, one of the assignments you will be doing soon, perhaps in next week or so. So, start working on that as well. So first you research your subject, you clear questions that linger, let your subject to do 90% of the talking, record your interviews, develop your angle, tell the story, check your facts, and that's it. So I also have posted one of the readings about profile, writing a profile there on Georgia View under that module. So please take a look at that. So, and then let me know if you have any questions. And great, thank you.